Let me just say that this is an issue that the City Attorney's Office has not been consistent on over the years. Let me read the specific language of Charter Section 99. It states, "No contract, agreement, or obligation extending for a period of more than 5 years may be authorized except by ordinance adopted by a two-thirds majority vote of the City Council." That language alone, on its face, would seem to indicate you have to do it by ordinance, and you need 6 votes. That was adopted in 1968. It was adopted for the purpose of conforming the city charter to the state constitution on lending or borrowing limitations, debt limitations. From about 68 till 93, approximately, and some of the history we lose, the city interpreted that to mean that sentence to mean only contracts or agreements for the expenditure of funds, because that was the intent. In 1993, there was a lawsuit that was filed challenging that. It was settled, but afterwards, an opinion was issued by the City Attorney's Office that changed that and said the plain meaning of that sentence is the plain meaning of that sentence, and from that point forward, any agreement, any contract, any obligation that extends more than 5 years is required to be ordinance with a supermajority. In 1996, that was changed on the basis of a number of issues in that I'll get in a second. In 1998, that was reaffirmed, and on basis of the 96 and 98 opinions, the City Attorney's Office advised that we're going back to the only agreements or contracts for the expenditure of funds. The 1998 opinion, 12 years ago, was the last published opinion of the City Attorney's Office. There have been 2 other opinions that make reference to it. One was in 2000, or 3 of them, 2004, 2006, and 2009, all of which just simply referred to this 1998 opinion as being the policy of the office. For the last 12 years, generally, although there is one exception in late 2008, but generally for the past 12 years, that has been the advice of the City Attorney's Office to the city, and that is the last published opinion. Our opinions are published. When we publish an opinion, it is acceptable to rely upon our opinions. Now, when we review an opinion from the past, if it's flat out completely wrong, we will advise you it is completely wrong. Otherwise, if we think that it's questionable, we'll reassess it and we'll issue a supplemental memorandum of law giving our own opinion. But until we issue a change, you get to rely upon that opinion. I reviewed the 1993, 96, 98 opinions. Here's essentially what they said. In 1993, the opinion basically said that we're going to go with what it means. The intent here was to allow taxpayers to basically protest long-term projects, and we're going to enforce it as it's written. The 1996, and that tends to be my view of things, plain meaning rule. The 1996 opinion went a lot further and pointed out that the entire context of that one sentence was in the context of debt limitation and was intended to cover money expenditures. As a matter of fact, the question asked of the voters in 1968 was exactly that question. It said, shall the charter be amended to include a debt limitation provision consistent with the Constitution of the State of California? When there's a situation like that, there is a principle of law that says that if it's one sentence out of context, you have to read it in the context of the provision. They came on very firmly and strongly in 1996 and again in 1998. It has not been changed. I think it's clearly there's 2 sides of it, and we are relying, as should the city, upon the last published memorandum of law. We will look at this at some point to supplement it, but until or unless we change it, that's the law in the city of San Diego. That's been the consistent advice. We don't just change it on the seat of our pants. We will review this in much, much more detail.
Thank you.
But it's a very reasonable interpretation.